Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Angel's Cottage on Instagram, Arcania on Ravelry, and Angel's Cottage Shop on Etsy. I'll have links for that below. This is not a podcast episode. This is just a video that I really wanted to do. I have around me, I'm pretty sure they're not in the shot, a bunch of work in progress projects that I've had for a long time. And this is going to be a whip it or frog it style video, which means am I going to continue to work on it or am I going to undo the project and either find a different project for it or just reclaim the yarn and figure something out like way later in the future. But I have a lot of projects that I cycle through while I'm knitting or crocheting, and I'm just not a unit project person. Like, I can't work on just one thing. I need multiple different things going for some reason. My brain is just chaos, I guess. But I have been racking up the projects now for years because I've been knitting for 2 or 3 years now. I used to knit, if you haven't seen a podcast episode, I used to knit like over 10 years ago, and I wouldn't call myself a very successful knitter. I couldn't seem to get the hang of it. So I eventually turned to crochet, and I've been doing that consistently for 11, 12 years now. But a couple years ago, I challenged myself to learn how to knit socks for my husband, and I knit, but I mostly knit socks. I'm trying to branch out and do other things, but we'll get to that. Um, so basically, the way this video is going to work is that I'm going to pull up a WIP and we're going to talk about the project, why I stopped working on it or what have you, if I can remember. Some of these are really old. Maybe my feelings about it, but I'm going to be probably stopping a lot to grab projects, and I'll try to make that as smooth as possible in editing, but we'll see how it goes. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll do this one because it's right in front of me. And this is a Tunisian crochet project. Wait, I can't talk. And I can see I need to wind up some yarn here, so just a sec. But this was, oh, the project name is escaping me. I'll put it up here on the screen. But this is from the Tunisian Crochet Handbook by Tony Lipsy, and it is like a floor proof cover. And I think this is called Seed Stitch, and it's absolutely beautiful. I really love it. I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but it's a really pretty stitch. And I have both the front and the back panels here. And I was clearly working on the very long side panel because basically you put these two together and then um, you sew the side panel along because it's a cushion. Anyway, I stopped working on this project. This is fairly recent because I was working on this in like the spring of this year, and I stopped working on this project because I was trying to find an alternative for the cushion, because the cushion that she calls for, it's a pretty big one, and you I believe stretch the, because I know if you look at the front panel that I held up, it didn't look very big, but you end up stretching it over the cushion, and I don't think I could find the cushion in store, but I found it online, and it was a lot. You need two of them to make a good thickness, and it was like $60, I think, maybe more. And that's not including, you know, the project materials and time that I took to make it. And that's neither here nor there, but I was trying to find an alternative to that cushion because that's kind of a lot. So that's why I stopped. That is going to be a WIP because I'm still looking for an alternative and I do plan on finishing that project. All right, next up is this project over here. And this is a baby blanket, kind of a large one. Oop, kind of a large one. This was a baby blanket I was working on. A friend of mine who had a baby last year. And I'm almost done with it, I'm pretty sure. I just need to finish the round or do a couple more rounds on the edging here. So I already know for sure that this one is a WIP. And I really love these colors, this dark green. I really love it. So that was easy, that was quick. It's just there's no pattern for it really. It's just a simple um single hold on. Just a simple single crochet stitch. You chain a certain amount and then you single crochet and you just keep going. So there's no real pattern for that one. And I stopped working on it because we moved and then we were trying to get settled in and we kept reorganizing our place and it kind of just got pushed to the wayside over there. So I'll hopefully be finishing that soon. Maybe you'll see it in the next pod, but let me go ahead and grab the next one. Okay, the next one is this very small blanket. Now, this one has a little bit of a backstory. It's very specific colors, orange, white, black. I'm a San Francisco Giants baseball fan, and at the time that I started this, I was still living in California and going to baseball games regularly. And the night games can get pretty cold over there, so I was making a lap blanket that I could take with me to the games and be cozy and support my team. Now, someone's probably going to pop up and say, well, you're in Oregon now, so this could be beaver colors. This is true, but I don't go to those games. And I think I try to convince myself to keep this and keep working on it and give it to my mom because she's a Giants fan and she would really like it. But I think I'm going to frog it, which is take it out and reclaim the yarn. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And this was no particular pattern either. It was just a um, chain a bunch and then half double crochet back. It was just a bunch of half double crochets. And I like it because it's a little bit bigger of a stitch, but it's not too gappy. But yeah, this one's pretty old. I've had this one for a long time. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab the next project. Okay, so the next project is a Tunisian crochet project that was working on in 2020. I'm pretty sure. And this is my Westmont shawl by Tony Lipsy's TL Yarn Crafts. And I did it in her first collaboration with Sorella that year. That is, oop, this one, the multicolored one is Surfboard. And then this one is, I believe, West Coast. North Coast. And my biggest problem is that this is all I have left. I forget how many rows it's supposed to be, but I'm almost positive I stopped because I wasn't gonna make it. And if I remember right, it's been a long time since I've looked at the pattern. I think I needed more of this color too. And let me just rifle around in the bag. Hold on, I didn't think so. I don't have any more of North Shore. I'm almost positive. Um, so I think originally what I was gonna do was try and finish it out with the surfboard, but I don't think I have enough for that either. So this is most definitely a WIP. I'm gonna continue to work on it, but I have a sock set in these two colorways. I have no idea if it will be enough to finish this project because that's all I want to finish this project. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is cracking into those, caking them up, and seeing if I can make this work because this is really pretty and I want to wear it, but I'm also really sad that I didn't end up having enough and I really want to finish it. So that's a WIP. And now let me grab the next one. Okay, so the next one here is another Tunisian crochet shawl by Tony Lipsy, and this is I believe it's the Loveland Light. Yeah, and this is Sorella Thingamabob, and then this is Forbidden Yarn Co. in Design Boss, I'm pretty sure. But the reason I stopped, there's two reasons. So obviously you can see with this color here, it's fairly light pastels, like pink, predominantly pink or pinks, and then a little bit of like blue that fades into purple. When I had bought this skein, I bought another skein that looks a lot like the pink in here. And in my mind, when I had ordered it, it wasn't going to be that close in color because originally it wasn't. This was seemingly darker, if I remember right, in the pictures for the pre-order. When it showed up, I still caked it up, still put them together. I caked them up and had them side by side, and I was like, oh, this might be a problem. But I tried anyway. So I had worked it up for several rows, and then I was like, oh, it's not going to work. So then I ended up ripping it back, and I dug around in my stash, and I happened to have this one, the Design Boss, and I put it on there, and I think it's it's decent, but because it's a variegated, it really, so I'll do my best to show you here. It's really quite dark here, right? But then when you come back over here, it's really light, and in some cases, it's quite pink. Now, I worked up one row, and here's my other thing. I'm kind of unusual, I think I would say. Probably not, but I like it when yarns are similar to each other or the same base, and these two are very much not that. If you look, see if I can do this. The strings, the thickness of the fingering weight on each one is very different. This one is much thicker than this one. And when I bought the yarn, I didn't really know anything about like wraps per inch, things that I know now because I think I bought that 2021 question mark. I think that's when I got it. And actually this other yarn over here was probably 2021 also, the surfboard and North Shore. But I don't like how they match together because the one yarn is so much thicker than the other. It just doesn't go for me. So um I'm in that niche stash. Oh, goodness. I'm in that D-stash Discord, and a long time ago, somebody D-stashed the same base as this one, which used to be the classic stock. It's 100% superwash merino, 4-ply. They don't have that base anymore, but it's a Ursula, so it's a dark purple, and I'm gonna use that for this. I haven't caked it up or anything like that, but I'm gonna rip out this purple and, you know, it's sort of a frog, but mostly a whip because I'm gonna continue to work on this with that other color. I just need to get that dark purple out of there and hunker down because this is over halfway done. So give me a second while I grab the next one. All right, so this is a baby blanket that I made for my son when he was a baby. And if we pull it up and look at it here, the original dark blue edging right here that goes all the way around, is where it originally stopped. Obviously when I made this, he was um, a baby. I believe I was able to finish this before he was born. And then he used it while he was small. We predominantly used it as a car blanket because it was perfect for that. But he outgrew it, obviously, because that was 6 years ago. So when he was about 2.5, almost 3, I was working on a baby blanket for my other child, and he was really sad that he didn't have his anymore. So what I did was I hunted down this variegated color, and at the time, I believe Brene was discontinuing it, and so I bought everything I could because my intention was to continue to grow this to fit my son as the years went on, which means that eventually it was going to um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Eventually it was going to be huge, right? And I bought more of this one too. So what I did was I added on for at the time, and I remember, I'm positive I was still pregnant with my other child working on this, and it needs a little love. It needs a little love. It needs to be finished. Um, so this is a whip, and I've got to troubleshoot something over here, it looks like. So I might have to do a little bit of a frog in a whip because for some reason the corners are like odd. They're odd to me. I don't know. Even this one over here is like the same way. They're kind of odd. So I'll have to try and figure that out. But this is a whip, and I've got more of both the variegated and the solid to add to this so that my very big child now, he's not very big, he's big to me, but anyway, can continue to have a blanket. And again, there was no pattern with that one. It was just chain, single crochet, keep going. Okay, I'm gonna grab the next one. Okay, this one is another baby blanket, but this one is not for me. This was something that my cousin had requested I make for someone she knew having a baby, and they wanted it in Peter Pan colors. So I bought some blue and some green and some yellow, and I originally was going to do corner to corner Peter Pan flying to Neverland, but I struggle with corner to corner for some reason. This is not my first time trying to do corner to corner, and I've always ended up, I don't know, frogging them, I've done solid corner to corner. That's no problem. But when it comes to like what they call a graph can, where it has a pattern on it, I struggle big time. So this for me is going to be a frog. And what I'm going to do is reclaim this yarn, and I'm still going to make the baby blanket a year and a half later, you guys. I'm not even kidding. Which means the baby's like a year and a half. But I'm still going to make it, and I'm still going to give it to her to give to her friend that she knows that had the baby. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, next one. Okay, so my next one is one of my first sweater attempts and also my first test knit. So this is the Carlisle, the original. I think this is by Maddie Moe, and she is working on a DK weight version of this. I restarted this thing so many times it's not even funny. And for my lack of skill, not her writing, I could not get this. I want to start this over, but my thing is, I don't want to use this color. This is yarn that I dyed for myself, and I'm a little bit upset right now because it's 5 skeins. I dyed 5 skeins of this, caked them all up because I was so confident I could do this. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Um, yeah, I'm gonna frog it, reclaim the yarn. I might rehank the yarn and over dye it because I want it to be something I can use. And it does not help. I wasn't going for this sky blue, by the way, this robin egg blue. And I had purple and green speckles in here, and the green gets lost. I remember when I was working on it, it's a broken rib. And I remember all the green speckles were getting pushed back. Excuse my cat. He's chatty. All the green speckles were getting pushed to the back with the pearls, and I was disappointed by that because I wanted to see them. But this is a frog, and I'll tell you what, I've actually been looking for this stitch marker for a long time, especially recently because that holiday is coming up. So kind of glad I did this. Um, I'm filming this November 8th, by the way. I have no idea when this video will go up, if it'll go up before the second pod or what, because I just put the first podcast up and I filmed that in August. So, yeah, life is crazy right now. I'm hoping to get on a schedule and get at least once a month, if not twice a month, podcast videos out. But we'll see. Don't hold me to that. I probably chose a really bad time to get into the habit of that, but here we are. So this is a frog. I am going to attempt, I don't know how well it's going to go, to rehank these and then reclaim the yarn because that's a lot of socks. Maybe a hat, maybe a scarf for other people that I know. I don't know. Let me grab the next one. Okay, so what I have here is another blanket. Are we seeing a theme? But this is the Spin Your Granny blanket, I believe is what it's called. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even know if I was putting this together right, but I do know there's a lot of granny square blankets. I mean, blankets. granny squares in here waiting to be added to this blanket. Um, I want to try to whip this one just because I spent a lot of time on it, obviously. It's supposed to fit a queen size bed. This was a gift for a friend, and I think they asked me for it like 3 years ago, so I am the worst. But yeah, this is something that I want to try and finish. If I can make sense of what the reason I stopped is because the join as you go was confusing for me because it's on a bias, and I don't think I've really done join as you go as a big project like this, let alone granny, let alone on a bias. I think that's what was freezing me up because I was like, okay, what I want to do is fade it. Obviously, these are full white squares with a green edge, or where's the full white one? Here, full white one with a green edge because I joined it in green. And then if you look, it gets to be like 2 rows, like right here, I think is 2 rows of green, and then it fades into 3 rows of green. So it's supposed to fade into less cream, more green. And I just spent so much time on it, I really want to finish it. So this is a whip. Let me grab the next one. Okay, so this is a Westmont shawl. TL Yarncrafts, Tony Lipsy. The difference here is these are similar colors. I would definitely not call them the same. And it's black and white and gray with like deep purple in there, and it's really glitzy. Originally, when I was making this, I was making it for my grandma on my dad's side. She is no longer with us, and now I don't know what to do with this project. Um, I think that it's very likely that I'm gonna frog it and reclaim the yarn and figure out something else to do with it because, like, look at, oop, hold on, look at how pretty this is. It needs to be something that isn't a half-done project. So yeah, that's that's a frog it. That's a frog it. Hold on while I grab the next one. Okay, these next few are amigurumis, and I believe I was making these for my shop. This is a purple dinosaur, and he's a whip. There's too much of him. He's got all his other little bits. I just need to finish his body and stitch him together. There's just too much of him, so he's a whip. And without having to transition to another one, I've got bits of a bat here who is also for the shop. All his bits are here. I just need to sew him together. So that is a whip. And I'm not really sure why I stopped working on the dinosaur. I think it was probably to work on the bat. But I stopped working on the bat because it took me so long to figure out in between work and kids how to make the wings just right according to the pattern. Um, that the holiday passed and I was like, I lost my motivation because in my mind, who's gonna want to buy it after the holiday? Question mark. I could be totally wrong because people like bats all year long, but the same thing happened to this little guy who's not even done, but he is supposed to end up being a pumpkin bear. He's got all his bits in here too. So those are WIPs because they're dang near done. And this was kind of eye-opening to grab all of this out from where I had it and see just how many projects were like over half finished on the brink, and I stopped doing them. But let me grab the next one. All right, this one is a tank top that I was working on for myself, and I was gonna do something a little bit unique. That's okay. Just for the record, it was not gonna hang down this low. This gets connected to, I'm not there yet in the pattern, but it ends up getting connected to these other straps and it pulls it down so that this stays where it's supposed to. But yeah, this one I was gonna fade it. I have other colors here in the bag. Let me get them. It's gonna be crinkly. And they're supposed to fade. But I was originally working on this project because I liked the way it looked, and I'm going to be completely vulnerable here for a minute. I weighed less when I started this project, and I had a little bit more confidence than I do now. And I wanted to represent a fuller bodied, fuller figured individual making this pattern, because if there are fuller bodied makers making this pattern, I don't really see that on the hashtag for this project, the Ravelry for this project. This is the Rising Sun tank top, I believe. There's a crop version and a full version. This was going to be a full version. And what's going to happen now is when I was pulling this out and going through these to look at and see what I had, because I was looking for something specific, and I found this. My son really likes the color green. And what I think is going to happen now is I'm going to reclaim this yarn, undo this, and maybe find a light color to go with it. And I think I'm going to make him a blanket. I know I've already got a blanket going for him over there, but at this point, I'm not really sure what else to do with this yarn. It's not enough for me to make a sweater. Yeah, I was just checking the yardage. It's not enough for me to make a sweater for myself. I might be able to make a t-shirt. Um, we'll see. I'm leaning towards the blanket idea for my son, but now that I've said t-shirt, if it's enough yardage, maybe I'll do that. So I'm going to put this back and grab the next one. Okay, so this is the back panel of a pillow that I was working on, and I was working on two at the same time, and they're very similar. I was working on one that also, I believe, was like this length and size and was in the tweed for my mom. And what I ended up doing was finishing hers, and I was working on mine, and then I just stopped. I think by that point I was burnt out of oops, sorry, there's a fly. Um, I ended up being burnt out with all the things that I was doing at the time, because that was like in 2020, and so I stopped making it. But I still have the pillow form, and I still have the rest of the yarn to go with this. So This is probably a WIP because my kids and my husband, they just love pillows. So I'm just gonna make it. We'll see how that goes. The next one is in here. This was a towel, or supposed to be a hand towel. And this is cotton, and it's like self-striping cotton or something like that from, I think it was Hobby Lobby had this. And I'm so far already. I'd really hate to frog it, but I also don't remember a thing about this pattern and like what hook size I was using or any of that. Plus my tension might be completely different now. I think I'm gonna frog it. Possibly start it over. But it is a frog for sure. Here's the rest of the cake. What a disaster. But yeah, I just bouncing around off the top of my head here. I might end up turning this into like frogging it, starting a different project down the line, and making a either another towel, like a hand towel, or what are those things called? Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking right now. Like a pot holder, not a pot holder, but the like a hot pad. There you go, hot pad. Because I need more of those. I want to protect countertops and whatnot. So that's a frog. All right, this one's gonna look ridiculous, but it's obviously not done. That's why it's here. But this is a piranha plant. I have a former coworker who's very interested in the outcome of this, and I just never finished it, and I need to. So I think this is a whip, but like how cute, right? It sits in there and everything. I think that's all that's in here. So give me a second while I grab the next one, which I think is the last one. Hold on. Okay. This is a great big old blanket, whew, that I was working on for myself out of Brene Velvet stripes in these beautiful stripy colors. And I was doing the alpine stitch, which let's just give that its moment. Stunning, absolutely stunning, incredibly soft, beautiful, really heavy, really heavy, really wide. I think two people could use this blanket. Um, it's with a heavy heart that I think I'm gonna frog this and reclaim the yarn. I have a couple more cakes of the yarn that I used for this, and it is only like, let me see, if I have it at my ankles, it hits like my hips or my belly button. So I have a long way to go. I have no idea what hook size I was using with this because I think I was making this in like 2019. I'm obsessed with the velvet yarn. I really am. I love it so much. But my problem is I made a blanket out of this yarn for my husband. It was shell stitch. It was also self striping. And he used it and used it and used it. Hand washed it. Hand washed it. And it did what's called worming. It's the nature of this kind of yarn, I guess. But it basically slipped out of the stitches that I had made, and it wasn't like it didn't come undone in a sense of like if I pulled this right now and it came undone like that. It was still in the pattern, but it was like zigzaggy right here, like a stitch, like a Frankenstein stitch or something. And honestly, that was upsetting because I worked hard on his blanket, but it kind of showed me that this type of yarn has a tendency to do that. And like I said, it's called worming because it just looks like worms and it undoes itself somehow. So it made me not want to finish this blanket. And I am very sad by that because I really like this. I like the alpine stitch. I like um the colors, the because it's dark purple and lilac and this like powdery blue, all colors that I like, but I don't want to make it and then have the first time I ever wash it and wash it, have it worm on me. I'm surprised it hasn't already, just being toted around in this bag all the time, but this is a frog I'm gonna reclaim. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with the yarn. If I ever figure out the first project in this video, the the floor poof, maybe I'll make multiples of that with this if I can find a more cost-friendly alternative to the insert. If not, I can make crochet plushies with it because I have other velvet yarn and I've made a couple things with them. I've made a scarf that was a gift for somebody else. I have no idea if that thing is okay or not. Um, and then I made a scarf for myself with it, but I've never used it. I shouldn't say I've never used it. I gently used it, lightly used it. Um, Not enough for me to be like, oh, it worms. So I make plushies a lot, and I have done velvet ones before, and they seem to be fine. I don't know if it's the tighter stitches that prevent it, or if it's just like a single crochet that prevent it from undoing itself like that, because this is, I think, double crochets, and the one that wormed on my husband's was also double crochets. So I'm kind of wondering if that plays a role here, but we'll see. We'll see what I end up making. I'm just seeing so much work that I have to undo right before my very eyes. But yeah, those are all my WIP graveyard whip it or frog it's that I have right now. Um, I felt like when I was looking for these that I might be missing some, but it's been so long, hence WIP graveyard, that I don't really know for sure. And if I find enough of them, maybe I'll do another one. I hope you liked it. This is kind of fun for me to see languishing WIPs and maybe find the drive to finish some of them, or in the case of the other ones, taking them out and getting that yarn back and making something else with it. Because if it brings you joy, that's great. If not, there's nothing wrong with frogging it. Yeah, it's a lot of hours, right, that we spend doing it. But I personally don't mind because I'd rather have something that I can use and enjoy than something that I will never use, i.e., this blanket, because I'm afraid of having to wash it, hand wash, and have something happen to it. So I hope you liked it. If you're still here, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, you can check out my podcast where I talk about my knitting and crocheting adventures. You can also subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I post a video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.